Mm. Garbled, who knows what. Yeah. Garbled, who knows what. Yeah. Garbled, who knows what. Yeah. Why do people think I switched away from Arch? I am on Ubuntu now, dude. Think I switched away from Arch.
Arch is amazing.
Video.
I know. I
Just couldn't keep.
All right, so we should be good. We should be live with audio now. Give me a second, guys.
Yeah, Big Pot. It was just the fact that I couldn't have that doggone switching app with that Ubuntu has, so I said, okay, screw this.
All right.
This was, it was.
You guys in the YouTube chat, give us a yay or an A on the audio. I know my mic was muted to you guys. They could hear me, you guys couldn't, but everything should be good now. All right. Yeah, somebody's audio is being picked up on somebody else's mic. I don't hear it now.
I don't either.
Neither.
Yeah,
it could be me. Let me see.
Well, we'll just roll with this for now. If it becomes a problem, I'm sure the chat will let us know.
Yeah, we'll just work with it.
Yeah. So what have you guys been up to?
Oh, playing Xbox with my little cousin and just hanging out with them.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I also went to Ubuntu Mate yesterday, like I said, and I am enjoying it.
Yeah, that's the strangest hop I think I've ever heard from somebody like you, Ben, going to Ubuntu Mate. Isn't that going to be way too stable?
I don't care. In my opinion, I'd rather have something stable than rather have something that breaks 24/7.
I thought you were, the Gentoo and the Arch guy, Linux from scratch.
Well, I'm going to run those things, but only in virtual machines because honestly, I was just, it was the fact that I couldn't stick with something that was just going to constantly, just end up breaking. I have to redo it over again. Yep. I don't want to keep doing that.
For me, Arch never broke unless it was my stupid stuff.
Well, you see, Big Pot, I'm on a laptop that just where you have to go back and forth between graphics cards. I'm like, I can't do that.
I have a laptop NVIDIA GPU and one that is actually like most hated by Linux. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on
mobile is crazy.
You still on a Manjaro, Big Pod?
No, now I'm on straight Arch.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on a similar laptop, but the problem is it has an Intel and an NVIDIA, and I'm just...
Yeah, my too.
Right, but the problem is I downloaded Optimus Manager in order to change the two cards, because that was simpler for me, and always having to run prime select, blah, 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 when I already had Optimus Manager pre-installed to do that, just drove me nuts. And I just said, okay, I'm not going to put up with this anymore.
A lot of people have problems with Optimus. It's not just you, Ben.
I just run NVIDIA Graphica all the time.
Hold up.
One of us is...
Bruno.
Bruno. Just a sec.
Hey.
Bruno, you're going to have to put on some earbuds, or otherwise you're going to get feedback from the stream.
Yeah, dude. Nonetheless, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to mute the stream in order for it to not feedback.
Yeah, I think he realized it. Yeah, Bruno, you're gonna have to get some headphones. Otherwise, the sound from your speakers is gonna bleed into your mic, and it's gonna cause us some crazy feedback here on the stream.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, Optimus has always been a pitter on Linux. And also, it doesn't work in Mac either because Mac doesn't use that. They use a Gmux utility. So if you put Linux on your Mac, it's going to, especially on 15-inch MacBooks, it's going to be a pity to get that work. So yeah, working. So that's why I don't run Linux on a Mac.
I just run my NVIDIA graphics card only. I actually disable in Linux the Intel graphics card because I just don't want to deal with switching.
Yeah. The only sacrifice that you have with that is
battery power.
Yeah.
But
I do run my laptop on battery, so I would prefer to have both.
Most of the time, I run my laptop. It's near a power plug, so I don't care.
Yeah.
I just plug it in.
Yeah, I don't really have that luxury when I'm in school, so I have to run it off battery sometimes.
In class, I have like in every classroom, I have before the desk, I have outlet, so I can just plug it in when I need to.
Well,
yeah, I think Bruno was having some problems joining us. I don't know if he ever heard us either, so I think he was playing with his inputs because he didn't seem like he heard anything we had said. So he'll probably rejoin.
Yeah, he
most
might.
Classes I mean is in a laboratory, so basically, I'm the only guy who has a laptop. All others use school computers.
Yeah,
I just can't use those. So
there's not a lot of MacBooks. I would think there'd be MacBooks everywhere.
Here there isn't many since they're quite expensive.
Well, they're expensive here, but Apple gives you a bit of a discount to students.
Here there is no such discount for students.
Really? Okay.
Because here you actually don't buy it directly from Apple, you buy it from like a store. Like a normal store, like.
They're store-bought, yeah.
Yeah.
That I can understand. So you don't really get a student price.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. GFI. How you doing today, my friend?
By the way, those of us that are running Arch-based Linux distributions, thank God we're not running Antergos. So
yeah,
Antergos is a long dead horse.
Oh man, I was so critical of that Linux distribution over the last couple of years too. Like that was the worst Arch-based Linux distribution. I don't mean to like kick somebody when they're down, but man, that thing was buggy as hell.
Sorry, but already if your installer doesn't work, what can you expect from a distribution itself?
Exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I liked it, but there was just so many bugs. It didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw the little story I did on taking into account this Thursday, but one of the main devs of Manjaro put out a tweet about the number of downloads they've had.
Yeah.
In the last 5 months, they've had over 1 million downloads of the Manjaro ISO. And I bet now with the Antergos news, it's going to just bump up even more.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manjaro, I will say, is a decent distro to get your feet wet with Arch.
Yeah. The only problem with Manjaro I have, believe it or not, is sometimes I can't get it to boot in a live environment on some of my equipment.
Yeah,
sometimes I'll get the ISO and it doesn't matter whether you choose the free driver or the non-free driver when you boot in. It just won't load sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen occasionally.
Never got that. For me, it's more a problem. Any of the pre-built distros, the ISOs for Manjaro, don't want to boot on my laptop.
Yeah.
GPU problem. So I have to build myself with the architect.
Yeah. Matter of fact, a lot of you guys still are asking me, like some of you guys are surprised when I open up a terminal and it's Arco Linux. They're like, what happened to Manjaro? The Manjaro USB stick I had didn't want to work in this machine. It wouldn't boot into the live environment for me to do the install. And I happen to have a USB stick with Arco Linux on it. So I just installed Arco.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one Arch-based
I just
distro is the
installed
same as the
Arco.
rest. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same. I mean, it's Arch at the end of the day once you get past the installer. So, I mean, Manjaro does have, I guess, a little bit of its own repos, and so does Arco, but for the most
Manjaro
part, it's...
only has its own repos. No Arch repos are used. With Manjaro, no Arch repos are used.
Well, you can do the unstable
Yeah, they're
Manjaro and
basically
be
copies of
right.
Arch repos with some configs
Yeah,
done to be better.
if you don't want to be held back, you can do the other. I doubt most people do that though.
I had testing, which is basically a couple of days after unstable, you get into testing, and it was quite stable. It is actually, for me, it's actually more stable than stable branch.
The one thing that kind of annoys me with Arco, this is not a problem with Arco, it's just I did not choose to install the LTS kernels.
No.
And I am surprised, like a new kernel comes out like every other day. Like I'm constantly getting new kernels, you know, so every time I update, it takes a while because the kernel's big. So,
Yeah, the kernel is like the biggest program other than GCC out of the whole operating system.
so I think what I'll do is the next time we get around to the next LTS kernel, I'll stick to that one and quit trying to be on the latest and greatest kernel every single time.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now is because my equipment's kind of new. You know, that AMD Radeon 7's kind of new. I thought, well, I should probably be on the latest kernels for that.
Yeah.
But once it's been out for a few months, you know, I'm just going to stick to the LTS.
Yeah, that's good. And I've been getting into World of Warcraft actually on a private server.
Wow, that game has been around since like the dawn of man. People still play that?
Some do, yes, but I'm playing on a active private realm actually.
Wow, I should find my old Diablo 2 CDs and.
I still play World of Warcraft on the actual servers of Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. This is like my first exposure to it actually.
Well, I have to admit, I've been gaming a little bit more the last couple weeks. I haven't done anything on camera, but I've been playing a lot more Zero AD lately. I've been trying to figure that game out because that game is complicated.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point where I can almost beat the medium difficulty AI. Well, I can beat the medium difficulty AI if it's a 1v1 game, but if I do like a 4-player game against 3 other AI players, that's tough because they do weird things like they're neutral with each other or they team up on you. And
if you wanna, we can go play sometime together.
yeah, you're good at Zero AD?
No, I like this sort of strategy, real-time strategy games.
Yeah.
Well, the game I'm most active on is Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's like my go-to mainly.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people are playing that one.
Yeah, I used to love Star Wars Galaxies, but unfortunately it shut down, and I never really got good at it. So, I mean, and they actually have a Linux version of it through their launcher and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a Star Wars nut there.
Yeah, and I know EB English Bob. Doesn't he play some Knights of the Old Republic on his channel sometimes? Sometimes he streams.
Yeah,
I know he does a lot of trucker, but he plays a few different games.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he kind of plays one of those WoW kind of clone games too, Ben. He plays a lot of
too,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was
Matter of fact,
big on the Guild Wars franchise personally.
No. Problem with me getting into something like that, those.
Sorry.
Yeah, when I don't want to get into one of those massive multiplayer games because it's one of them things that it's gonna suck up months of your life, right? Or maybe even years once you get wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
That's why I play WoW really slowly, mostly just for fun.
Give me a shooter, give me a strategy game. You know.
I used to play it seriously, but
when I was younger, I really liked Roller Coaster Tycoon. That was like my daily thing after school and on the weekends.
Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Yes.
Yep.
That
was a great game. Matter of fact, you remember the old Railroad Tycoon games?
No, I never played that. Yeah.
Well, there is an open source kind of clone of it actually available on Linux. Forget what the name of it is, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's open source, so it's like in your repos. I forget the name of it. I'll think of the name of the package here in a minute. But it's a pretty neat little game too.
Yeah, I like those tycoon games. Those were always fun because you could just build whatever the heck you want, and you could just. Oh my word, those were the days.
Yeah. And I can't think of the name of that game. But in the last few years, you never install games from like your distro's repos anymore. Those old FOSS games we used to play, like Super Tux and Westnoth and things like that, because now we have Steam, right?
Yeah.
Like we get such a better selection.
Yeah, the Steam store has definitely grown in the past couple of years.
Mark in the chat, he nailed it. Open TTD.
Open TTD, yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's also Open RCT too as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know how well that would run.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that either.
Yeah, I'd have to look into.
Yeah, I'm checking some of the latest distro releases this week.
Yeah.
I'm not a penetration tester, but both Kali and Black Arch had releases.
They should really do Black Gentoo.
Yeah, and why they got to be black? That's
like,
Black hat.
right.
As a black hat.
And Kali, isn't that the
I
with all the script kiddies run?
One time,
Yeah, that's what all the script kiddies run. Yeah.
That, like you were a legit hacker. All you have to do is install Kali Linux, and
Yeah.
that's it.
You have to know how to install Kali Linux and you're a hacker.
Yeah.
You don't even
Boom, you're a hacker.
don't even know what the shell is. You just have to install it.
Yeah. But there are quite useful tools in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you
I'm sure
write
there are.
graphically.
The problem with the Black Arch download, I wanted to do the Black Arch download last night. I'd mentioned to you guys in the IRC
Yeah.
Big Pod. I thought about downloading. I fired up the
Clever
torrent, and it was going to take like days. Like the download was slow even with the torrent, and the download size for that ISO was 11 gigs.
11 gig, holy.
And it's all
Probably.
penetration testing tools, right?
Probably
so you can
everything
imagine.
can, like data sets and everything like that.
Yeah, and it's an open box distro, so when you right click on the desktop, can you imagine how big that menu is going to be with 11 gigs of those kind of utilities?
Maybe not. Maybe it's a low number of utilities and they have certain data set or rainbow tables on.
Yeah, weird.
So you don't have to install them.
Yeah.
If only they gave you an option not to install all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I might download Kali and take a look at Kali. Probably not going to do Black Arch. That's just too big of a download.
Ooh,
Yeah.
terrible.
I think they do offer a minimum. Well, it's a minimal download, but what it is you install the other 11 gigs from a net installer, and that doesn't save you any time either. I mean, that's a lot to download over the internet during an install.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just rather, just get the 11 gigs and just suffer through it.
Yeah. Of course, the big releases this week were Tails and OpenSUSE. I like Tails. I keep a USB stick of Tails around. SUSE I've never really ran.
SUSE I've never really cared for first.
Yeah.
Not to put them down.
SUSE, I never liked SUSE or OpenSUSE.
Yeah.
Yeah, SUSE is just, ugh.
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on it as far as I've never actually tried to live in it. Maybe I should.
I've tried, it's a lot.
Yeah. I don't typically run RPM distros, but if I was going to run an RPM distro, Fedora's worked for me when I've tried it. So.
Yeah, it's Fedora's cool. It's just I'm not used to it. I'd have to take some time to really live in it.
Yeah. What I don't like about Fedora is the DNF. That thing takes so much time.
Yeah,
I haven't noticed that. As far as that's slow?
Yeah, it's slow as hell.
Yeah.
I believe it's actually made in Python, so...
Yeah, that's just a wrapper made in Python. Same with Sabion's package manager, Equal.
And wait a sec. I don't know which one, but one of Gento's package manager, I don't know, whatever they use,
they use emerge.
Python.
Yeah, emerge is written in Python.
Emerge is made in Python, which...
Yeah, Portage is written in Python. Yeah. It's called Portage, but the command structure is emerge, and it's written in Python.
Yeah.
And I still can't get myself to do Gentoo install.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend Dean Allen about it last night on Facebook, and he was like, "Nope, not doing it."
Mm.
Last time I stopped after making before making the kernel. I
Yeah,
guess I
the
forgot to do
kernel is-
something, and I got all the time got some errors. So I
Now,
stopped.
well, you were just getting to the fun part because that kernel compile time takes a while.
Well,
You
that's
can
if
set
you
that-
do gen kernel. If you do a minimal kernel, it doesn't take that long.
No, you got to do the big kernel,
Yeah.
and then you need to go out, catch a movie, maybe get some dinner, come back.
Hopefully, by the time you're done, it'll be done.
I've actually been thinking about doing another Gen 2 install sometime.
If you give like half of your processor, it will like do it like this.
Yeah, because now I have the Threadripper. Now it would take, no problem. On my old machine,
you could
if I
give
rush
it
through
like-
it,
You could give it like all 12 cores and
Yeah.
bunch of threads, and it would like go through it.
Yeah,
'Cause-
I've been tempted to do it on my Ryzen 1600 because it's overclocked and it does have 6 cores, 12 threads. So it wouldn't take that long at all.
my old machine, I mean, I could do a Gen 2 install if I rush through it, in a couple of hours, maybe 2.5 hours, depending, what kind of kernel. But on this machine, I would expect, I don't know, like if I just really didn't take my time and really kept putting in the commands, the kernel compile time, I can't imagine would take 10 minutes even with the Threadripper. I mean, where it took like an hour and a half for the big kernel to compile, my old machine.
On your old
Chris Titus
computer.
wanna do drunk stream of installing Gentoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he did that with Arch, but being drunk and installing Gentoo sounds dangerous. There's a lot of steps that you could,
Yeah.
And I
and then you
believe
got to
I'll
go
do
back,
it on directly on his machine, not in a VM.
and you don't want to be like Big Pod did, get halfway through it, realize you made a mistake, and start over.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, like his stream of installing Debian, where he tried to install Debian for 2 hours before he figured USB didn't work.
Huh. Yeah, I missed that one. What was he trying to do? The net install, the mini ISO, or
The normal install of Debian.
well, he should have realized after 2 hours if it was just the standard ISO, something was wrong.
He was getting to the partitioning part, and after that it just gave him error. He tried again and again and again and
Yeah.
again. He thought it was his partition that was the problem.
Yeah.
He tried like a million combinations. Nothing worked. Then after a while he tried a new USB and it worked.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't realize it was his USB stick.
Yeah. Okay.
We're all
iPhone.
laughing. I've done similar things though. I've tried to install things and fight with it, and then realize, man, there's something wrong with this image, right? The ISO has got to be corrupted.
Yeah.
I've sat down before on afternoons where I had an afternoon free, and I pulled down some random distro. I'm gonna take a look at it on the channel, make a video, and I spend 3 hours. Don't get anything on video, never get anything installed, waste an entire day, and then leave angry. Yeah, no,
It's happened to me before. I'm like, gosh, dang it.
like I've got a list of distros, just like 8 or 10 distros that I've tried to install. I've got them in a text file. I was like, please don't ever download their ISO again because they're so broken. The first time around was so bad, like I won't even go back to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah. Matter of fact, one of them, most of them are like small distros nobody's ever heard of. I mean, you would expect some of that, but one of them was actually kind of a popular Arch-based Linux distribution that people used to tell me I need to check out, and I tried to check it out 2 or 3 times, and it failed every time, and I wasted hours each time trying to get it installed. And it was like a black Arch kind of distro. It was an Arch-based distro. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I think it ran OpenBox.
God, I know the one you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah, it was kind of popular about a year ago. People kept, man, you got to check it out, and it's garbage.
Yeah.
Like if I can't get it installed, that's a game over right there.
Yeah, that's.
And I don't even record the broken installs. Like I'm not even, because I think that's just people work on free and open source software. Mostly they're just donating their time anyway. It's a side hobby, and I don't want to, piss people off by showing something that's broken. So if it's horribly broken, I won't even record it. So.
Yeah, I'd rather not waste my time doing it than doing.
Yeah. Let's see what is going on with some Linux news here. Not exactly sure what I'm going to do on the channel this week. I've got a couple of days off here today and tomorrow, so I might record a video or two in the next couple of days, and then later in the week be kind of busy. I don't know. I might have to slow down. Though I've put out a little more content the last week or so. Had a little more free time than normal.
I haven't had the ability to put anything out lately. I've just had school and been focused on my games and that sort of thing.
No.
I just haven't had the thought to put out anything lately.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything interesting is happening as far as Linux news.
No.
I do notice more and more people I've seen this story come up a couple of times in the last week or two, is like the best Linux laptops on the market. Have you seen some of this? And more people are throwing in Chromebooks into these discussions, as Chromebook is the popular Linux laptop. I guess it's Linux, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. So, it's just, I don't want my beautiful GNU/Linux, being corrupted by being equated to Chrome OS. I know it runs the Linux kernel, but
yeah, and it also is based around Gentoo, which is a little strange.
Yeah, well, they use Gentoo, as the build system for the distro, but really the packages it runs, like if it's going to run Linux packages, they use deb packages.
Right.
Which makes sense. The Debian format's kind of the dominant format, right? At least for desktop Linux.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense to use Gentoo as your build system, if you're going to build your own custom operating system.
Yes, it does.
I mean, Gentoo really is the build system for Gentoo. I mean, it's just a build system for... Yeah.
God, I feel like I'm losing my voice. Ooh.
Yeah, you had a rough night, Ben? I've got a cup of coffee. I may have to hop up in a second and grab a second one.
Yeah.
Did you hear that one that the app developers ask a wider GNOME community to stop theming their apps, specifically the distro developers? Stop theming apps and icons.
I didn't read much of that. I heard about it a little bit. Somebody was talking about it on Reddit or something the other day. I didn't read the story, but I'm assuming it has something to do with GNOME and client-side decorations.
Yeah.
It's been a problem forever. Also, just theming in general in GNOME 3 is a problem. Like, there are no really, like, back in the GNOME 2 days, you had hundreds of different themes you can install, GTK themes, but now there's no real theming system, it seems, with the new GTK. Like, you've got the default Adwaita set, and then you've got a couple of popular ones like Arc and Adapta, and that's it. Like, the community, nobody's really making themes for GNOME, and it's sad.
Most popular one is, it's Adwaita, it's default.
Yeah. But think of all the millions of people that use GNOME as their default desktop environment, and apparently the creating a theme is so difficult. Maybe it's just too difficult for many people just to create their own themes. I don't know. It's definitely a more complicated process than it was with GTK2.
Yeah, the most basically, the Ubuntu had its ambience theme, that is Ubuntu's spin on GTK theming, and Manjaro with its Maya theme, and that's about it. Yeah, really.
Hey, Bruno, how you doing?
Hi guys, can you hear me properly?
Yeah, your audio is great. Yep,
a little better than before.
Yeah,
I had the wife going up with the vacuum and everything, and here I am in my office.
Well, good to have you.
On the work.
Pleased to meet you guys.
All right. What Linux distro do you run if you run Linux? If you run Windows, that's okay.
I'm running Maybox.
Okay.
I like the simplicity, the speed of it, and the fact that it's based on a Manjaro. So having a good time with that one. I dual boot with MX Linux.
Ooh,
Okay.
distros.
So on the same laptop, I do Debian and Arch. So I like that.
Well, that is a respectable choice. I really like a Maybox.
Yeah.
I never really heard of Maybox the whole time I've been on Linux. But
It's
it's
like a custom Manjaro with OpenBox, but it's got some really neat like custom utilities, some really neat scripts as far as changing the theme and layout of everything. Like if you want to change the wallpaper or your Tint 2 panel or anything, it's just dynamic scripts in the menu. You just click a button and it all changes for you. Plus they have their own like configuration manager that the guy behind that distro I guess created himself, or maybe he got it from another OpenBox project. I'm not sure. A lot of these OpenBox things get rehashed from other distros, especially the old Crunchbang distro that died. A lot of people took their utilities and kept them going. So.
That's good. I mean, Crunchbang, used to be a really nice distro. I also heard Archbang still might exist.
Yeah, Archbang still exists, but it's not. Nobody talks about it these days. It was really popular when it first came out, 10 years ago or whenever it first appeared, because it was really the first Arch-based distro. As far as before Archbang, you had Arch, and you had to go through the Arch install, read the Arch wiki and all that, which back then it was a little more complicated than it is now installing Arch. Well, Archbang came out. Hey, we have an
installer.
Yeah, Archbang had an Ncurses installer. I mean, it wasn't a graphical installer, but it was an easier way to install Arch. So a lot of people jumped on Archbang, and then Archbang went away for a while. It died, kind of like Crunchbang did, but then it came back. But by then you got Chakra came around, and then later Manjaro and Antergos, and then 100 others. Yeah,
that back when Arch was more heck, it was or hell, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
It was like in the GNOME 2 and KDE 4 days.
Yeah, and the Arch install back then, like I said, was a little lengthier. It seemed like it had more steps in the Arch wiki when I installed it back then. Now the install process is super simple. I mean, what is it? Maybe a dozen things you type in the terminal and you're done.
Yeah, but Gentoo is always going to be more involved, as is LFS.
Yeah, I haven't done a LFS install. It's not something I'm just dying to try. So I'll leave that to you, Ben. You and Das Gregor. I watched some of his videos. Yeah, he's great with Linux from scratch content. He does some Gentoo and some Slackware sometimes too.
Yeah, Slackware is the last distro you've ever seen him do.
I could live happily in Slackware because I'm kind of a stable kind of guy, and Slackware is extremely stable because of the fact you don't really have a package manager. So once you get everything installed, you don't have to worry about updates breaking your system.
No, because it doesn't really do updates.
Right. But the lack of a package manager, does put a lot of people off.
Yeah, it would put me off because, if I don't have a package handler, I'm like, okay, no. When
I did the Slackware videos with Serge a few months ago, like we did a KDE Slackware, and they're still packaging one of the KDE 4 versions.
Yeah,
I mean that's KDE on Slackware. So that's kind of strange when you see that old version of KDE on a distro now.
It's like, why would I go back to this when we have Plasma?
Yeah, because those were like the worst versions of KDE, the 4 series.
Yeah, because it was nice. You could customize it really easily and that sort of thing, but it would just, if you did one wrong move, it would just go poof.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And well, I think I'm done hopping. You know, I just stick with whatever's working on my main machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had an excuse to hop when I bought the new computer, so I could have put anything on the new computer, and whatever I put on it, if it's as long as it's working, I'm going to run it. Turns out it's Arco, but I had strongly considered Void Linux. I thought about Void. I didn't have the ISO handy, but I thought about downloading Void and putting it on here just to try it out.
It's just I'm not used to it. I mean, if I gave it a little time, maybe I would be, but I really just thought contemplating putting a second partition on this laptop and putting Gentoo on it, and my Ryzen tower, just to have something that I'm used to and something to play around with.
Mm-hmm.
One day I'm gonna go check out Void. But
Void is interesting. Void, of course, doesn't use systemd. That's kind of its claim to fame. They have the run it init system.
They have to run it back end, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they've got some other more suckless kind of things going on too. You know, they get rid of a lot of the bloated stuff like glibc and things like that. Other than that, though, the repos I found with Void are actually pretty good. When I check out Void, and I've checked it out a couple of times, just playing around with it. Yeah. Most everything I want is in the repos. Not everything. It's not the Arch repos. It's not the Debian repos. But most things I want.
Their own stuff.
Yeah. Their repos are bigger than the Solus repos. Yeah. So, Solus, there's a lot of things that are not in the Solus repos that I would like to have. Because I ran Solus actually on my main production machine and one of my laptops for a few months last year. And it's a great distro, but it's a lot of stuff missing from the repos I wish they had.
Yeah.
But what's the advantage of running Void over, say, any other distro?
Well, Void again is kind of, if there was a distro that kind of adhered to that suckless philosophy of being minimal and avoiding bloat, like Run It, the init system is written, I think, in less than 1,000 lines of code, where systemd, as an example, has over 1 million lines of code now. Systemd is this massive project. So also they're using, you can use musl rather than the glibc libraries. They also, let me pull up the Void website. There's one other utility I think they borrow from the BSD guys. Let's see, what else do they do? LibreSSL instead of OpenSSL. Now, the other kind of neat thing is their package manager, XBPS, is neat. I think it can do some source-based stuff if you prefer to go that route. Most people are just going to install binaries, though. Right. So it's pretty neat distribution. Became kind of popular quickly, and a lot of people were really interested in this, but then the main dev disappeared. Like one day, the main developer of the project was just gone. Nobody heard from him. Nobody had heard from him in weeks, months passed, and it looked for a while like that distribution was going to die. It took them like a solid, probably year between releases before other people kind of stepped it up and decided they were going to continue the project. But it looked bad there for a while because the one guy was really the main driving force behind development. I mean, there were other people involved in the project, but they're more maintainers than the actual developer, right? So, and then the developer, the main dev, had all the keys to everything. And he can't pass those keys off to other people because they can't even contact him. They didn't even know if he was alive. Like he just dropped off the face of the earth. So.
He just basically disappeared with no trace.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. I mean, Solus with Ike, you kind of saw that coming before it happened. I mean, a lot of folks, probably 2 or 3 months before he finally left, we kind of knew that he was done. He kind of stopped doing much with Solus. So when he actually announced he was leaving, everybody kind of knew, yeah, it's been coming. But the Void guy, he didn't give him any kind of heads up. Just one day, I quit. He was gone. Yeah. He didn't even give him an I quit. He just, quit logging into.
Forget it.
Yeah.
He just said, okay, heck with this, I'm done.
And of course, that ties back into Antergos, with those guys, Like, hey, we got other things going on in life. This is a lot of work. We want to move on. So,
He just said, nope, I'm done with it.
And it looks like there's already at least 2 forks of Antergos as far as, this happens, people start, so, well, I'll take the code and fork it. There's already people working on that, so. Which I saw this a little bit with Crunchbang. Like, when Crunchbang died, they announced Crunchbang was going away years ago. Like, the next day, people were already, building Bunsen Labs and Crunchbang Plus and all this other stuff, so.
All these other distros.
Yeah, so Antergos will live on in some way. It'll just, be 3 or 4 different forks.
Called Antergos no more.
Isn't that the beauty of Linux, though, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the beauty of Linux. It might die. A distro might die, but it might come back in some other form, or but that's that's what's going to happen with Antergos. Somebody's going to probably fork it in
yeah. Because I'm sure it was probably all licensed under a free license. It's all GPL'd, so anybody can go take that code and run with it. You got to change the name. Somebody probably has a
name in mind,
a copyright with the name or some trademark, and so you may have to rename your project, but the code is yours to do whatever you want with.
Yeah, the name. Yeah, they can have the same concept, just not the Antergos name, because that's already been used.
Yeah, one thing when these projects die, you usually don't get to take the name with you. Usually the people that had the name keep the name, even if they know they're never going to make the distro again. They want you to use a different name. They don't want you to be associated with the name that they were. It is understandable.
Very understandable.
Yeah. Because they had that problem with the Crunchbang guy. He didn't want Crunchbang to be used in any of the forks names or anything. So, all right. Yeah. Peter in the chat, Luke Smith is on Void at the moment. Well, that makes sense for Luke. He was slacking a little bit. I mean, if there's one big proponent of the suckless philosophy, it's been Luke Smith. Like, he touts it as being a positive thing. I'm kind of critical of the suckless guys. But Luke didn't really use a lot of the suckless tools. All right. So now he's finally on DWM, which I think he'll enjoy DWM. And Void, which is not a suckless utility Void, but it kind of adheres to that philosophy. But I don't know. DWM is a different tiling window manager than i3, and I think i3 is pretty much the only thing Luke has ever used in his time in Linux.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he gets along with it.
Yeah. Hopefully he does. I hope he doesn't just jump back to i3. But if he does, it's not a big deal.
Well, you got to use what works. I mean, once I get through distro manager or window manager hopping, I'm going to end up back on either Qtile or Xmonad probably. Yeah. That's where I'm comfortable.
Yeah, and for me, that's like XCE or KDE.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Plasma, but it's just it's a lot to configure. So I've always been an XSE in that file.
And Mr. GFY says he thought Luke would be on Parabola. So Parabola is Arch-based. It's one of the Free Software Foundation endorsed distros. You can't really run any of those 100% free distros unless you've got the hardware to run it. I know Luke has some laptops, but I think he runs ThinkPads. I don't know if all those ThinkPads. It depends on the Wi-Fi chip that's in them.
The Wi-Fi chip and the graphics card and the whole nine.
Yeah. So, I mean, I support the Free Software Foundation. I'm a member. I'm not running any of the Free Software Foundation distros. Not on my laptops especially, because I don't think they'd run. I don't think I would have Wi-Fi. Because I've got, those proprietary, Broadcom chips, right? And if I can't get Wi-Fi, I'm not going to run that distro, right?
You're just better off.
Right. Yeah. So you do have to be pragmatic. You have to use what works.
Right. Now, if you had an Intel or a Theros Wi-Fi chip, then you could get away with running one of those FOSS distros.
Mr. GFY says he's never had a problem using the FSF distros. Yeah, you do need to check your hardware, though. Anybody that wants to run any of those distros, check your hardware before you install Triskel or Parabola.
I really don't know who would want to run something like that.
A lot of people just do it for the for ideology, just the principle of it, just to say they're running 100% free software.
Yeah.
Just to see, some people want to just see if it can be done. It can be done, actually. I mean, we're really close to being able to do it now. I mean, the fact that I don't have an NVIDIA card now on my main production machine, I could probably install Parabola and be okay. The only proprietary software I really use on a regular basis, Zoom. Well, we could do something else for video conferencing. I think Zoom is the best out there, but there are open source alternatives.
Yeah.
I don't really think I have any other proprietary software installed other than that. Games, if games count. I'm not much of a gamer, though.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's all that's on here.
Well, I'm a heavy gamer, so if I can't have my Steam, my Origin, the whole 9 yards, I wouldn't, I wouldn't run it.
Yeah. And I don't game much, but I do like to, I'll fire up Steam once or twice a month. Enough that, some people ask, why don't you do some hopping? Why don't you hop to FreeBSD or any of the BSDs? Well, I do like to game sometimes. Steam, there's a Steam for Linux. I don't know if there's a Steam for BSD. I know there's some hacks, some ways to hack Steam to kind of make it work on BSD, but it's not an official client.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice if Steam was ported to BSD, but good luck doing that.
Yeah. Well, the good thing now with Proton, though, I think it'll get to the point eventually where the operating system won't matter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the goal. It won't matter if you're on BSD, Linux, Chrome OS, whatever. You should be able to play those Windows games.
The only downside to Chrome OS is...
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Can my audio okay?
We got you, Murray.
Oh, that's good. It's been a few months since I've talked to you. I tried to get in last month, but I had a power failure right when the show started for 6 hours. But I will say the last two of these patrons chats we did, the timing of them wasn't great. Like last month, I worked every Sunday except the last Sunday of the month, and the last Sunday of the month was Easter. So I scheduled it the Saturday, I think, before Easter, which wasn't a great time for everybody to be here. And then this month, the same thing. I waited till nearly the end of the month to schedule it. I scheduled it on a Sunday, which is typically what I do, but it is a holiday weekend here in the U.S., so I know a lot of people got other things going on. So, but I'm glad you're here, Murray. I do have some experience with Entergos.
Oh, great.
Back of November of last year, on and off, until about an hour after your last episode saying it's discontinued. I replaced it with Ubuntu 1910.
Mm-hmm.
But I really originally went to it because it's the only distro that has ZFS checkbox for the root file system. And I was trying to get that to work, and it never did work. I got it working once in January, and then I let it go for one update. It recompiled ZFS in the kernel, rebooted okay, and I thought I was home free. 2 weeks later, the same thing, and it crashed on the reboot. So they never had ZFS working, and they had a checkbox. And if you checked ZFS and you went through the installs, it would bypass one of the windows, and you'd have to hit the back button to get your username and ID in. And it's always been like that since November. That they never changed it. So they gave up sometime before November to get.
Yeah. They admit that they weren't going to fix the installer. I mean, they didn't say specifically the installer, but they admitted they weren't really fixing a lot of the bugs people were reporting, which almost all of them were around the install. So
there's one thing they did do well. That was VirtualBox. They had two virtual boxes. The regular one, which you'd have to recompile with every kernel change.
Yeah.
Their own, which you did not. So they did pretty good. I didn't have to recompile the VirtualBox every time, and their forums were good. They had direct. They were not condescending or anything, and they really tried to help you. So they were good that way. But in the end, it didn't serve any purpose. It would have been better if they tried to get ZFS working in Manjaro or something like that instead of the whole new distro to set it aside.
Yeah.
But the other thing I noticed is Python 2.7 is disappearing, and
Yes, it is. Finally.
Python 2.
Yeah, moving on to a new version of Python.
Well, I mean, Python 3 has been out for years now. I mean, who's
Yeah,
writing
but
anything in
they've
Python
kept
2?
the legacy version around so long.
Yeah.
There's quite a few Python 2.7 apps still out there.
I find some in the AUR sometimes, but not many.
That's the Python 2.7 is mainly for compatibility.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you could probably remove it from your distribution, and you'd probably be okay. I mean, you'd run into the occasional older application that required it.
that would break.
Yeah, that would break, but
And
I blame the Python developers though that or the team that created Python 3. Why don't you make it backward compatible?
That's
why didn't you?
probably the point, because they probably added new APIs and changed APIs.
Yeah.
Even though they should go with more of what Microsoft guys do with C#, where if there is something in the code, they don't change for example, C#. If something, even if it doesn't work exactly how they wanted it to work, if it's been in a version, it's there forever.
Yeah.
So it's backwards compatible. So they don't break apps. That's the point. And same they do with .NET, and yeah, that something like that should every programming language think of.
I tried using const XONSH.
Yeah.
Looking on your recommendation there. And I rewrote a bash script, 30 lines. I wrote it 29 lines of const, which was 28 lines of pure Python, and then 1 line of const to shell out. And it did what I wanted to do. It's readable code compared to the bash stuff. But I could do the same thing in pure Python. Instead of one
right
statement in line, I did 2 to shell out. So there's no point in installing const on the system when pure.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. If you were going to go to the trouble of trying to script something anyway, if you wanted to use Python syntax, just Python, right?
Just Python. You can just run Python as a Python program.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. It's a lot more readable than the bash stuff. I still like bash for the terminal use, but for writing functions, you get very unreadable code very quickly if you get around 30 statements in there.
I mostly do bash only for really quick and dirty scripts, like when it's like running specific commands, like a couple of times. But for more, I go with an actual program.
Yeah.
I started learning Lua last Wednesday, and that's a better replacement for bash than I think Python. Lua is one file, 250K to distribute it. Python, I downloaded Python 3.7. I downloaded the source, decompressed it, did the configure, make, install, 214 megabytes. And I couldn't find a minimal Python 3.7. So if you're trying to distribute something, Lua is way better.
Yeah. Well, it also depends. Like Python, it's big, it's kind of bloated, but I mean,
but
you can do anything with it.
A lot of programs depend on it, so
right.
It's probably on every system, so it doesn't actually that much matter.
Yeah. Like there's so many libraries in Python, right?
And that's actually the point of versatility of something that has a lot of libraries already in there, against something that has like really small number of libraries which you have to install yourself, and then it's a wrong version and all that.
But there is a problem in packaging with all these libraries.
If you package it yourself to have direct access and not non-shared objects, it's quite big. That's why snaps are huge, and flatpaks. But otherwise, in Linux, where it's normally shared objects, most apps aren't that big because most of the time, app is one itself, and whatever libraries it must have that are compiled with it, or everything else is a shared object that is installed by a repository.
There's a problem. If I write code in Python 3.7 and you're running 3.6, there's a problem getting it over there.
Yeah, but that's something people need to basically standardize what versions they use and all that. And if you really need to use a specific software, you're gonna run that software's version of Python. But otherwise, incorporations, that's a problem. But
also, shouldn't your package manager take care of some of that too? It should know what version of Python is required.
Plus, always, if you really don't need specific version, always update, because bugs, security fixes, that's all important. Unless you really need specific version, update. So that's why I keep most of my software up to date.
Well, I'm glad Murray knows a little Lua, though. That way he can help me with my awesome window manager config now.
I'm learning it. It's nice. I wrote a print 1 to 1,000,000 and did it in Bash. Took 11.5 seconds. Did it in Lua, took 5.5 seconds. And in C, took 4 seconds. So Lua's not far off C in some circumstances. Anyway.
Well, I came up with a really interesting way of configuring my rc.lua file in Awesome, which is the config file. I was using the standard Arco Linux Awesome window manager config, which is very large. So I went through it a couple of days ago, and any section of code that I looked at and I didn't understand, I deleted it. So I made the file like half as long now. But at least everything in there, I know what it does. So.
You're not related to Zeb, are you, by any way? It's bad distro next.
Yep.
Yeah.
No code, no problem. Just delete it.
With that guy, if you just say something too much technical, he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, but it makes sense what I did, because if I'm looking at something in this Lua script and it's doing some kind of function or something that I don't even know what it's doing, chances are I'm not going to miss it if it's gone, right? Like the ones that I can look at, I see what it does. It moves windows from one monitor to this monitor on this key. Yeah, I'll keep that in. But if it's telling me something I don't even know what you do, I'm deleting it.
Yeah, Lua's really concise, isn't it?
It is. As far as readability, it's very readable. Yeah.
I'm thrilled with it. I'm going to spend, I think, the next 2 months we're doing Lua and creating app images. I've finished distro hopping. I've got my Debian 9 system set, and so now I can start to relax, not do system stuff, do what I really like, which is program.
Looks like we got Sam joining us. Sam, you there? I don't know if he's got his sound working yet.
Hello.
Hey, Sam.
How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, just great. So, what are you up to today, Sam?
It's the day off, fooling around with dot files a little bit.
Yeah. Today's just going to be a day off for me, relaxing a little bit. I've got some work around the house I've got to do, but I don't plan on doing much today. I'm going to take it easy.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So, Sam, what distro are you running these days?
Currently Arch.
Arch?
It runs best on my MacBook Pro. So.
By the way.
Yeah. No. No, actually, I've debated switching away from Arch just because, I'm in university right now, so most other people in my classes, that's the running joke, and it's getting
right. Yeah. So, what were you thinking about hopping to?
I don't know. Any suggestions?
Well, if you're in a university, Ubuntu actually would be a solid choice, or Debian or CentOS if you want to do some server stuff. Yeah. Me personally, I would just tell all the people that are making the by the way jokes to just go away and just keep running Arch. Just stay on Arch. They think you'll be happier. So,
I might actually install or try to install Arch on one of my old phones.
they have ARM images, but I don't know if you're going to get that to work, though.
I know I'm going to get on this one I have here, going to try to get Lineage OS on.
Yeah, I've thought about putting Arch on my Raspberry Pi. I've got a Debian or Raspbian on it now, but I thought about downloading the ARM image of Arch and putting that on there. But I don't use my Raspberry Pi that much, so I don't ever really update it. So I don't know if it would really make sense to put a rolling release on it. I kind of like having Debian on it.
What does that Raspberry Pi do for you?
Well, right now, I don't have really anything. I installed Nextcloud on it. It's what I originally planned on using it as just like a Nextcloud server, but then I have a cloud server, some hosting that I installed Nextcloud on, which works as a better option. So now I have the Raspberry Pi that has Nextcloud on it that I don't really use for Nextcloud. So I've thought about maybe making it into like a music server. Because you guys, I've told you guys I have like 100 gigs of music stored on a drive, and I would like to maybe put all that music on the Raspberry Pi and maybe just use it for streaming, maybe through something like MPD. I don't know.
I once had I had 5 phones at a time, and basically like laying around. I used those 5 phones to make a room sound system with MPD.
Made his own little cluster.
Yeah, running. Basically, the brains was my laptop, and I had 5 phones around the room, and I listened to music through them.
You could have surround sound while you watch Netflix on one of the phones.
Has anyone heard of the website thispersondoesn'texist.com?
No, I haven't heard of that.
It brings up an image of a person randomly. That person does not exist, but it looks like an actual person.
Yeah. It's an AI generated image.
Yeah, let me check that out. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Here, I'm going to switch views, those of you watching the stream. So, let me pull up a browser here. So this is the first image that comes up. Let's see if I refresh the page here.
Yeah, it'll come up randomly every time.
So I refresh the page. I get a new random person that doesn't exist. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's using AI or more or less machine learning to make the images.
Yeah. Be great if you needed like a stock image or something for a website. You just needed a picture of somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, if you watch long enough, you will find some really bad examples.
Yeah. Well, I imagine if you do it long enough, you'll eventually find your doppelganger, right? Your twin.
You might actually, if you do it long enough, you might find actually a real person.
Yeah. That's very cool. I don't know how useful of a website that is. I mean, I guess just...
It's a proof of concept for AI.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, all you guys that were running rolling release distros, what do you think about Firefox 67, assuming you run it?
I don't know if I already have it. Let's see. Yeah, I actually like it. The feature with the pinning of the tab. That's really good. I have my YouTube. I have pinned, so it's open all the time, and it just goes on.
And some of the features that they were touting in this release, I don't find much use for because I'm not one of those guys that has like 87 tabs open all the time. But I think BigPod is one of those people.
Yeah.
And now that they have those tabs suspend.
Yeah.
So that they're not constantly sucking up your resources. I think that's good.
That's actually great.
Yeah, so now if you don't access those tabs every so often, they just suspend them. They're no longer running in the background until you pull that tab back up.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
When Quantum started, they used to have 6,600 extensions. They've got over 14,000 now.
Wow.
Just
yeah.
by features, trying to find out what you want.
Yeah.
I've got about 40 extensions on my system. And over the years, 4 of them had side effects, and I had to remove them and had to track it down. I haven't had to do that for about 6 months. I think they've got the sandboxing down now.
Yeah, I don't install any extensions in my browsers usually.
I have
Firefox,
one extension, and that's LastPass.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I have uBlock Origin installed. And the only reason I have uBlock Origin installed is because I make YouTube videos, and sometimes I want to record like a news article or something on camera, and I don't want the ads to show. I don't want the pop-ups to come up. But other than that, I don't mind advertisements in my web pages. Normally I have it turned off.
Same here. I don't really care for those advertisements.
Yeah.
I can block them off.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, that's really it that I have as far as plugins.
Yeah, for me it's only LastPass, and that's so my life is simpler with my long ass passwords.
Yeah.
Like 24 characters.
I customize everything. I have XFCE. I've got 6 panels, 5 of them hidden. Got a file manager. I have about 40 bash extensions on it. And I just do everything down to the T. That's why it took me about over a year to get these things customized. Now my system's working the way I like.
Most customized piece of softwares on my system are Tintu and OpenBox.
Yeah.
And
but even that stuff, like I'll customize my window managers a little bit because that you kind of have to anyway. Yeah. But once I get them to a certain point, I'm done with them. Like I don't keep, reinventing the wheel. I don't redesign them every couple of months and retheme them. I get something that works and then I just kind of stick with it. Full desktop environments, though, I don't typically live in, but when I do install them on like a laptop or something like that, I don't change anything. Like if I install a KDE distro or XFCE distro, I don't change a thing on them. I just run them.
Ever since I set up my OpenBox and Tintu, it's like over a year ago, if not more, only thing I changed was the menu and the on the left side, the panel that has most used icons. That's all I change. Like that's a really quick changes. So yeah,
that's why I like Maybox a lot, because it's exactly perfect. Right out of the box. That's the way I like to use OpenBox.
Yeah.
I don't have to fiddle with anything. It's just perfect for me as far as an Arch distro. And
Maybox is very clean. I'll let it's got a nice workflow to it.
I'm just hoping that it wasn't dropped because it hasn't been there hasn't been any new ISOs since I think November.
Well, it kind of did die.
Actually, April. Was it April or whatever? It's been a while since
it's been a while.
New ISO. I just hope it's still maintained.
Even before that release, it was like a year between releases.
It was over a year because the last when I reviewed Maybox on the YouTube channel, the ISO was late 2017.
Okay.
And then they didn't release until sometime in the last couple of months. Okay. So they went like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
between. So a lot of people assumed the project was dead, and then one day the main dev is like, "Hey, here's a new ISO."
There is no need to update.
No, exactly.
Because then you can upload snapshots like every day, since it seems.
Yeah, you do need fresh ISOs though on a rolling release. You don't want anything more than about 3 or 4 months old.
That's why net installers exist.
Yeah, but Maybox doesn't have a net installer. Yeah, because when you try to update an ISO that's a year old on Arch, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's going to break on you.
On another laptop, I installed it fresh a couple of days ago, and the install, once all the packages were installed, it was almost like 2 gigs of data. So, but no, nothing broke. everything was okay. But for sure, I mean, you know, waiting a year in between releases is a little long on Arch.
Yeah.
Now, I like the what the Arch guys do. I mean, what do? They do like 4 snapshots a year.
Yeah.
They're like every.
I thought
quarter.
it was every month.
Do they do it monthly? I thought.
No,
They were for a while.
Arch doesn't do it for every month. They do it like something like 4 or 5 a year. I believe last one was, May or April. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was April that they did it, and but Arco does it every month, and I don't understand how Eric does all that.
Arco, yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure some of it's probably automated, but not all of it, obviously.
Yeah. Still, I know how much they do the test. That is how much work they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Having like so many ISOs to test.
Mm-hmm. Well, the great thing about Arco is, I mean, they became the first Linux distribution I know of that released an Xmonad image. Nobody does that. They also became the first distro that I know of that released a Qtile ISO.
Yeah,
most people have never even heard of Qtile, right? So,
yeah.
Is there anything else to Arco besides the desktops? Like, couldn't he do that with Manjaro? Add a repository with his desktops to Manjaro instead of having a whole new distro?
Well, you could just take the configs.
Technically, it isn't a distro because it uses the same repository. It's actually just a spin, or whatever you want to call it, a fork. It technically is a distro because distro would entail they use mainly different repositories. For example, Manjaro is a distro that is based on Arch, while something, I don't know, Arco isn't a distro because it uses Arch repositories. The nomenclature is stupid, but yeah. Really.
But yeah, you could, I mean, because Manjaro is technically Arch and Arco's technically Arch, you could pull down like some of the scripts from the Arco GitHub and probably run them.
Yeah, they work, even Arco packages. If you add a Arco repo in Manjaro, it works. I done that on my old Manjaro install, so I know that works.
Yeah. Because the Arco Linux D install is just a command line install. You connect to their GitHub repos, and then you just start running scripts from that. You could do that maybe in like a minimal Manjaro, like the architect installer or something.
Arco is like, they made it in such a way that it is mostly it's Arch repository and AUR, and just some really specific changes they make are their own repositories, like the not the real packages, but more the nice stuff are in their repos.
Yeah. I kind of wish the Arco guys would get away from having so much stuff in the AUR being in the base install, because that's kind of what slows down the install times with Arco.
If you get a B, it isn't that slow.
Yeah, but they have a lot of proprietary software that's packaged in the AUR that you have to wait to compile.
Yeah,
like Sublime, things like that. Which Sublime's a fine text editor, but if I really want it, I can install it afterwards. Don't put that in the main installation scripts.
Oh, speaking of install, Luke Smith had a Mutter application, was it, Derek?
Mutter?
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about Mutt, the email client?
Mutt.
Yeah.
So I tried installing that on Arch, and it was pretty brutal. Came down and said it needed fake root, so I installed fake root, and then it needed something else, and installed that, and then it needed something else, so I gave up on it.
Yeah.
There is
dependencies can be a problem.
Yeah, and all that script does is kind of configs Mutt or NeoMutt for you. But you probably should just write the config file yourself for it. It's not complicated, and it's probably going to be less headache than trying to run somebody else's script. Because I don't know if Luke, for example, took everything into consideration as far as setting up NeoMutt. Like, when he shows NeoMutt on his videos, he has one email address. I use NeoMutt with 3 different email addresses. And configuring that is completely different than what he shows you. Like on his video, there's a lot more involved, and I don't know how his Mutt Wizard handles having multiple email addresses. I haven't looked at it myself, but I could imagine that would be a problem. I should do a video sometime actually on my NeoMutt config and how to set up multiple email addresses. It's actually not that hard once somebody kind of explains it. The problem is there's not good documentation on some of this stuff. So, you really got to dig deep into the web sometimes to find the solutions to some of these problems.
Do you have a solution for, like, most emails are HTML now?
Yeah, I do have a solution for that. I have Thunderbird also installed on my system, so I can.
My solution use Gmail.
Yeah, because some of the HTML email I get, like I get notifications from Mastodon and from Patreon, and those notification emails are all HTML, and they just don't look good at all, right? In plain text, like you can't even tell what they are. I just fire up Thunderbird if I really need to read those.
I have seen some people use like links and things like that to open their HTML.
Well, I do have the links browser. I guess I could configure it to open that in the links browser, but it's kind of strange because I don't have to, because now you're opening some of your emails in a separate program while the ones in plain text, just render fine in Mutt. It's probably no good solution actually to any of that. And then how do you respond or edit? I mean, like the plain text stuff will just open up in your text editor so I can edit it and then, forward it or reply. How would you do that if you have HTML email opening in a web browser? You would still have to have it open up in a text editor at some point to edit it. I don't know. I haven't played with it though. My solution so far has just been I have Thunderbird already installed on the system too, so I just open up Thunderbird when I need it.
I wonder how email email is such is less and less a thing now. What I get in my email is a lot of garbage. I mean, I receive a lot of spam, and Gmail seems to filter it pretty well.
Yeah.
But I mean, besides, confirming accounts and this and that, I mean, for work, it's different, but I mean, everything else, personal email, I mean, how many people email you now? I mean, not for me anyway.
Nah, very, very few. I get very few spam emails these days. I think the spammers have kind of given up on email as far as being a money maker as far as spam email.
Yeah.
But I get emails due to channel related stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I mean, you guys will email me, and then I get notifications from Mastodon and Patreon. Anytime people message me on those platforms, I get an email about it. YouTube will email me occasionally when they demonetize a video.
Most emails I got are either school, work, or random crap for notifications and shit like that.
Yeah.
Nothing good, basically.
I did a Google search for SSDs. And within a day, and then went to the Google News. Within a day, every 10th news article was about SSDs.
Yeah,
never happened to me like that. I get really, really nice Google News.
Now, I guess maybe start reading your news in a private tab. Yeah, or maybe the Tor network. Use the Tor browser. They just had a release too this week.
I do news on my phone, and I get quite nice selection of them.
No. You do a RSS feed for your news, or you just get it in the web browser?
Google News.
Google News. Yeah.
I use just Google News through the Google client.
Looks like Chris is joining us on the road.
I have the last phones that still will be with Google stuff from Huawei.
Eyes on the road, Chris. Eyes on the road.
Yeah. Well, I'm parked right at the second. I'm going to go into icon mode here as soon as I figure out how to turn off the camera. Let's see here. Video. There we go. Okay. When I get to the museum, I'll come back on.
Yeah.
Full.
All right, Chris. Yeah, we'll be here for about 45 minutes or so.
Actually, since I have Huawei, that's why I'm learning how to do Lineage OS, so I can sooner or later put Lineage OS in my phone, my real phone. So I don't have Huawei stuff on there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you could experiment with all kinds of like Android alternatives.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you could do what Bliss OS and what's the other ones that. There's like half a dozen people have asked me to take a look at before. There's a bunch of them out there, though.
How popular is Huawei in the U.S.? Is it
not
very popular. Here in Canada, it's very popular.
Yeah.
Here in Europe, it's really, really popular since it was really cheap, and that was the main reason.
Yeah, that's the way it begun. But now, I mean, Huawei phones are, $800-900.
Yeah, depending on what range you got.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But like the normal, like for normal people phones, not those
not those high-end phones. Yeah.
Not the flagships. Are like normally, like I have this Mate 20 Lite, which I bought for like €200.
Okay.
Yeah, Huawei though. Those of you that checked out the Taking Into Account Thursday, and we covered some of the timeline on some of this, but we only covered like the last few months of the Huawei news. But dating back all the way to 2012, like the U.S. Defense Department was already telling its folks not to buy Huawei networking equipment.
Much of that you can trust.
Yeah, so when the government is not going to use Huawei, that's kind of like a big.
That doesn't mean a lot, truth be told.
Well, you're not going to find a lot of Huawei phones in the stores in the U.S. after that either. I mean,
just saying that U.S. government and trusting it—that's a problem.
I'm not talking about the trust. I was talking about the popularity here in the U.S. Dating back a few years, Huawei has not been a very popular.
They are crying foul about China spying. And they didn't spy, like NSA didn't have Prism to spy.
Oh yeah, I mean, the NSA is listening in on everything, but they want to listen in on its own citizens. They don't want another country listening in on its.
In one side, it was actually more like NSA to spy on me than China.
In California, the road signs telling you how fast you're going, giving you just a heads up. Have you ever seen the billboard type signs? We have them in Canada. Don't know if you've seen them down there, but they're putting in cameras with facial recognition. They bought 5 years of driver's license data, so they've got your photo from your driver's submission and they've got your face.
Yeah.
Really? In which province is this?
California.
Okay, you're talking about California. I thought you were talking about Canada.
Well, California is a different kind of place.
It's another
too.
country.
Yeah,
it really is.
California, different kind of place.
Yeah.
California really is a different country than the rest of the United States, almost. Yeah.
Here we have those signs, but I believe they don't have cameras in them.
Yeah.
I believe they have just police radars, so they can send you a ticket.
Look, there's no way to get away from all of this. I mean, wherever you're going to do, the minute you step outside, I mean, it's
the minute you step outside, even if you are in a countryside, you can look up and you can do a wave to that satellite watching you.
I feel like I need to give the obligatory Stallman was right.
Stallman was right.
Yeah. But on the other side, why government needs that data? That's like the question.
Yeah, they don't.
Doesn't cost them much to get it.
Yeah, and on the other side, really, what are they doing with that data? A lot of people would think that they profit from them. Probably they're not profiting from them. Probably that data will go one day towards something good, but right now it's probably just a learning curve for them.
Mm-hmm.
Probably US and terrorism and all that. Probably data is going towards making safe for
I think they scan for keywords and stuff like that.
That's what I know. At least I heard rumors that NSA checks emails and all that for the specific keywords, and actually that I heard they don't actually keep the data because it's too costly for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's
think about just the New York and domain awareness system is really huge, and a lot of data, like terabytes per second, go through domain awareness. So keeping all that for more than a couple of days, it's crazy.
Yeah, but the good thing about with what the governments, the big governments, the U.S., China, Russian governments are doing by spying on everybody is it's really gotten people much more privacy aware than they were previously to all this. Facebook, also the scandals behind that. People are taking their privacy serious in a way they weren't just a few years ago. So we're getting a lot more action with things like, Tor, for example, and Tails and I2P and
at the same time, people are beginning to be a little more cautious what they do outside, and that's a good thing, because if something comes out of it, is that maybe people don't do that much more crime that are in public.
It's 1984. That's what they want you to do. They want you to self-censor. And in China, Shenzhen, China, there's an Australian there, 28. It's the IT center. He was walking downtown. He gets a text message on his phone. You've been caught jaywalking. We find you, and we've taken the money out of your account.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you were Chinese, you would also have your social credit rating decremented as well.
Yeah, that's like one of the most ironic things ever, the social credit score.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But I think social awareness is going to tip the balance a little bit, because the government just can't do whatever they want. I mean, the government is elected, and and if people are aware of all this stuff, because now we're being before 10 years ago we had no idea any of this existed, and now people, when they vote, I mean, they'll try to vote for a party or a government that
popular opinion.
A popular opinion. That's that's what's going to be. But again, that we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's not just the government. Either private companies like Facebook and Google, Apple. I mean, they're under scrutiny. Facebook. Does it seem like there's been a turn in opinion against Facebook? Is Facebook popularity now going to start waning?
No.
You don't think?
I don't believe it will. I mean,
I don't know. I see a lot more people now talking about needing to get off of Facebook than ever before.
Yeah, but do they get off the Facebook? That's that thing.
I don't know if they actually do it. Yeah, but
if
there's
they
people
do,
that
for how long? Actually, I use Facebook. Not because I love Facebook, only because I have.
There was a rise on users on Facebook, then drop in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So
I think we may be looking at some confirmation bias here. I mean, we need a larger sample, figure out who exactly, or how many people are actually dropping Facebook, and how many are paying lip service to that, or if they even care, because I know my dad said he was done with Facebook, and 2 days later he's back on Facebook. So
Linux itself is quite a big self-fulfilling bubble, and and even if we say something, it just echoes in that bubble and nothing else, and we don't really get much information from outside of the bubble. Especially here on YouTube, we see that a lot with the Linux community. Like, for example, Windows. We all hate Windows, or like most of you hate Windows. I don't
either.
And how people hate, and how they say only for gaming, and how Windows will become obsolete. Yeah, among Linux community, yes, but everywhere else it isn't obsolete at all. And like people saying how if there wouldn't be any gaming, Windows would basically die. No. That's all seen from the eyes of this bubble of Linux. Where if you look from outside of that bubble, you see that Windows is on the rise, Microsoft is on the rise.
At the end of the day, we use what other people use as well. If YouTube wasn't popular, I mean, we wouldn't. DT, you wouldn't be on there. It's as simple as that. You'd be on PeerTube or something and have 5 people listen to you.
No. If there wouldn't be YouTube, something else would fill its place.
Something else would become popular. Yeah,
like they say. That
I don't know. YouTube is a little different because
another one will step. because
Yeah.
something will fill that space. When it's void, something will fill it.
Yeah.
It's
YouTube is a little different because I don't know if anybody could really build another YouTube, right? I don't know, like, how would anybody even go about, competing with something like YouTube?
right now competing, no. But if there wouldn't be any YouTube, somebody would build just as big, if not bigger.
Well, if YouTube went away, YouTube wouldn't just disappear. Google would just sell it to somebody, right?
Yeah.
Here you go, Amazon. Give us a price, and it's yours.
If we deleted YouTube from existence and from history, even before we would delete it, something else would take its place. Something would fill the place right away. It's not that it would be like it's not like the space would be empty for a very long time, because somebody else would see the void and would try to fill it, and it would be the only thing that would be popular. It could get bigger.
Twitch is becoming very popular as well.
Yeah, but that's mostly among gamers. And
yeah, but still, I mean,
I think YouTube
it's still competition for YouTube.
It's mostly in live streaming circles where it's very strong, but yeah.
I'm having.
Do you stream anywhere else, Derek, or do you only stream on YouTube?
No, I only stream on YouTube. I'm having some internet problems, so the stream is buffering bad on YouTube.
Buffering a little bit here, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the internet speeds, I don't know. Let me make sure I don't have anything else downloading or anything.
The NSA might be
listening on us.
Their noses in there.
Yeah, listening on us.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned it too many times.
Yeah, it looks like the stream health is back.
You're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
All right, I think we should be back.
NSA is awesome. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I think we were about to be taken down. Of course, we were talking negatively about YouTube a little bit, so.
Yeah, YouTube, NSA, basically.
Yeah, the stream health is bad. Well, we'll try to keep this going. I was going to go till noon. If it gets too bad, we may have to cut it a little short because it's looking pretty bad. Oh, well, we'll give it a few minutes, see if it straightens itself out. I was going to say YouTube, though, is a little different than Facebook as far as people are not that concerned about YouTube as far as the privacy issue. Yeah. Because we're already public, right? We're already out there.
Well, the first time I uploaded a video, even though I didn't show my face or anything, I decided I'm not going to be private.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do stuff like this,
but even that, if you do something live,
your chat, I decided that's it.
Yeah.
I don't have any privacy. What can I do? And
even if you didn't show your face, if you were live streaming and you're just doing stuff over your phone, I mean, if you're really paranoid,
once your voice is out there,
right? Yeah,
it's over. And I decided that, and that's it. I don't care anymore about this stuff.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
The stream is dying a horrible death, and I don't know why.
That, we don't know the source of the death.
Yeah.
It doesn't look that bad on my side. I mean, the voice.
Yeah, well, we've gone offline a couple of times and come back.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it looks great.
You're the boss.
Right now, you're lagging as well. Before, right now, not that lagging for me.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got the YouTube preview open, and it's bad. Obviously, here in Zoom, everything's straight, but what the guys are watching on YouTube is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the internet speeds are horrible.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Glad I was able to get on for at least a couple minutes here.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try to keep it going a little longer, but it's...
Chris, I think it's gotten better now.
Ubuntu already.
It is.
No, I didn't. I didn't have my. Didn't bring my computer in, so I didn't install the distro yet. I was going to do it last night, but when I got home, I just totally went right to sleep.
I'm probably gonna install it later today. So
Yeah, I'll probably get it. We got Memorial Day weekend on this weekend, so I don't have to work on Monday. I'll probably take care of it on Monday.
I thought Big Pod that you were using Ubuntu.
no, I'm using Arch.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm Arch all the way.
You're Arch all the way. Okay. So just dual boot.
Yeah, I will do that. I have like 3 partitions specifically for distros.
So you have Windows, Arch, and Debian, or?
Right now I run Windows, Linux, Arch, and then I have 3 partitions that are for, especially for the Big Daddy Linux Live. So I test distros for that weekly challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
And this week's challenge is what, Ubuntu or?
Ubuntu, mainline Ubuntu.
Okay.
One.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Everybody hating on GNOME except me.
No, not. But you know what? Ubuntu does pretty good, as compared to some other ones.
It's probably the only GNOME that I could stand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can stand Manjaro GNOME. And
it's actually kind of fast. The Ubuntu 1904 GNOME.
Yeah, it is very fast.
It's not bad. Like some people got mad at me when I compared the Ubuntu 1904 and Fedora 30. I created 2 VMs, gave each the same system resources, and pulled up HTOP on a cold boot in both. And Ubuntu 1904 was using like 690 megs of RAM, and Fedora 30 was using over a gig on a cold boot.
On a cold boot.
Ubuntu guys are really good with this stuff.
Running the latest kernel, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they do to Ubuntu to do that, but
a lot of stuff they do special. They change GNOME.
Yeah. But they need to contact the guys over at Red Hat and let them know.
Yeah, some stuff has gone back into the GNOME proper, but not all.
Yeah.
Not all stuff, because they want to do it themselves.
I think it's probably the software center, because with Ubuntu with apps, that's a C program, and as opposed to DNF, which is Python.
Yeah,
and so you're using a lot more resources to just to go through distros, see what you have in there. I mean the repos, just see what you have in there. So
yeah, one reason I always stayed away from Fedora. That DNF.
I like.
Yeah, you
DNF.
think having all the Flatpak stuff running hurts? So of course Ubuntu has all the Snap stuff running too, the Snap daemon running.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference between Snap and Flat is, but going to be as far as resources are concerned.
Yeah, me neither, really.
But the main thing is that I think the only Snap I have Snap running on the Fedora, on the front desk in the museum, just because had Discord, has the Discord app, desktop app on there, and so I have Snap going. It doesn't seem to really hurt the system at all.
Yeah, on my Arch systems, I always install just a default. Basically, I install both Flatpak and Snap, even if I don't use them. Just so I don't have to do it later on when I need a program in quickly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm parked. I'm gonna try to catch you guys before you cut out. I'll be back on in a few minutes.
All right, things look like the internet speeds here at the house have straightened itself out. So we're back in 1080p on YouTube. So
seems much better now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There for about 5 minutes, it was hit or miss. So
Derek, you mentioned you didn't like web apps. They're getting bloated. They mentioned that over in Jupiter Broadcasting too. I'll act as the devil's advocate here for a second. There was a guy on Android who downloaded a native Android game, sort of like a bingo game. He would have to push out updates to it, and they'd have to download and install them. He'd never know who installed his updates and who didn't. He had no way of having any metrics. So he changed it to web-based, and now everyone gets the updates automatically. He knows who's got his stuff. he's got new features and he can monetize the new features. And he says he's making more money because he's done it through the web app. So
I get that. I get that part. I get that it's convenient. That wasn't my point. Is that we were just trying to make the web browser like its own operating system. Basically, we're trying to do everything in the web browser, and I think that's really caused the web to be a mess, and web browsers a mess.
It's the Google effect,
right?
Yeah. But
back in the day,
like that. Some software I run in browser, for example, Office. I use Office Online. That's really great because it can run same software on Linux and Windows.
Yeah, but that's not what the web was for. The web should just be for displaying HTML, right? That's really.
But the fact that so many people are using Chromebooks now, I mean, the web kind of adjusted now. It's for it to be compatible to be in a browser.
Yeah,
that's where you're wrong. Web was for everything. That's what browser wasn't for.
Yeah.
And even browsers are made to use multiple protocols, not just HTTP. So we can say web or browser was made just for a specific task.
Well, I will say some browsers are made for multiple protocols.
Yeah.
Lynx is great. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, the internet speeds are getting hammered again. I don't know what's going on here.
Those NSA probes.
Yeah. And this is something that doesn't happen too often with me. I'm pretty fortunate live streaming. I usually don't get throttled or anything like this.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's not a problem with YouTube. I'll give YouTube credit this time. I think it's a problem with my connection speeds here. Because in OBS, I've got the little red box, and the red box means your internet speed's not good, right?
Something can handle it.
Yeah. So.
What does your CPU say?
Oh, my CPU. I am doing the CPU encoding. Let's pull it up here.
I actually want to ask, what does your CPU do?
Yeah, the CPU looks fine. So we got 24 threads going. None of them are above 25%.
What about RAM?
RAM, 4.5 gigs.
Okay.
Which is, a small amount of the 32 gigs I have.
And it isn't your computer.
It's your ISP throttling you.
Yeah, it's my ISP. Yeah, they're doing something naughty they shouldn't be. It's Comcast, by the way. That's going to be the next question. Comcast is horrible. I wish there was an alternative, but Comcast is pretty much a monopoly. So
really.
Okay. I mean, the only alternative is satellite, and that's not an option. So, not for internet.
I here have like 4 different ISPs, but I use only one.
Yeah. And what kind of bandwidth are you getting, Derek?
I'm not sure.
100 megabits
actually,
or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 50 megabits down, 20 up.
Over here, I have 400 down and 50 up, but.
Yeah, let's see what my current speed, according to OBS. I don't know how accurate this is. 3 megabits per second. That's we can stream with that. It was worse than that a minute ago.
It's minimal.
My ISP, that's like the cheapest plan of all, like something like 60 euros for 2 mobile phones, 2 TVs, and internet. It's like 60 or 70 euros with basically 2 IPTVs and 2 mobile phone numbers.
Over here, I get 400 down, 50 up, unlimited, $60 Canadian a month.
Yeah, here it's also unlimited. So Europe, 2 IPTVs, which don't affect bandwidth at all.
They don't?
No.
Oh.
I can run full HD programs, and I still must get 50 meg down.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And then I have, I believe, one normal landline phone number, IP telephone, and 2 mobile phone numbers, all for with 60 or 70 euros.
Okay. Well, it's cheaper than here.
Yeah, those, and both right now both IPTVs are on.
I don't even want to tell you what my Comcast bill is. Of course, Comcast is all bundled. You get your cable and internet.
Yeah, once you put everything together.
Phone, even though I don't even have a landline. But yeah. Anyway.
Costs you another rent.
Oh, it is. It's I pay $2.20 a month.
A lot of bread, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's outrageous. It's ridiculous. I don't even watch TV. That's the sad part. I can go weeks without even turning on the TV.
And so why do you have cable then?
Here, right here. This is it.
Okay.
Here, my parents and
the internet. I mean, you have to.
TV.
Yeah. And you can't. I can call Comcast and tell them I don't want your TV and phone service. Just give me internet. And you know what the price is going to be?
What, same thing?
Yeah, because
really?
it's all bundled. They want to bundle it.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yes.
Here, if I remove TVs and landline, I believe it would drop down significantly the price.
Here as well. Yeah. Here you can only get internet from an ISP.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
You used to be able to get the internet here from phone company, basically through
DSL.
DSL or VDSL. This was at the time.
Yeah, VDSL.
But basically that same company turned into ISP.
Really?
They had a subsidiary at the time, but then after a while they decided that it's not worth it, and basically the cables that were for phone, they just turned them into internet cables, and then you have everything over IP. Now they said, do you want optic cable? Yes, here, sign this and you will get for free optic. And I have to the house optic cable for free. I just had to sign 2-year plan.
And what does that bring you more?
I get basically optic cable, so basically better connection, more stable connection.
More stable, yeah.
Than
than a cable connection.
Higher speeds, higher basic speed. 5020 is like the lowest speed you could get on the cable is on optic, and it's actually cheaper than the lowest speed on VDSL.
Yeah. In the chat, I just want to mention, Evan is asking, DT, why don't you switch to Windows for a month and give us your thoughts?
It's been done before.
Do you really think I haven't run Windows ever in my life? I mean,
DT, that would be cool because you haven't run Windows from XP days.
Right.
You would see a difference. There is a difference.
I would hope so.
Some say it's better, some say it's worse. I say it's Windows has gone up from XP days. XP days are bad compared to 10, even 8.
I would even venture to say that Windows 10 is better than Windows 7. I mean, if you take out all that spyware garbage and all that, I mean, I think it's very, very stable. I mean, I have to use it.
If you disregard spyware that is inside,
exactly,
Windows 10 is light years ahead of 7. I always hated 7, and when I could, I switched to 8 right away, and even 8 was way better than 7 if you disregarded that stupid menu.
So if I installed Windows 10 and lived in it, would it really make a difference? Because, like, I'm going to tell you my workflow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install OBS, VLC, LibreOffice, GIMP. I'm going to install everything I'm using right now anyway.
All stuff that works on Windows 10. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
you could be kind of open source on Windows 10, but obviously the base is not.
Really go. And now Microsoft going all out.
Exactly.
Right. They hard open source.
They're opening up their arms to Linux.
Yeah. And all that has come from the new leadership.
I've been saying for the past 2 years, ever since I've had the news that Microsoft wasn't going to do another Windows after Windows 10, is that this is what they're going to do. They're just going to make another distro, essentially. But I mean, far as everything that's going to be included with Windows, more than likely is just going to be it's not going to be FOSS. It's going to be you'll still have to pay for everything.
Well, what I see writing on the wall on that, they won't ever use Linux kernel as a base kernel. They'll still use anti-Windows kernel. And what I hear is that the next version of Windows will basically be Windows 10 stripped out, and then you can install whatever you want. That's basically what they want to do. Basically, core, then you build it out yourself.
Well, I think they should use the Linux kernel, Big Pod. I mean, they fund the Linux kernel. They're paying for kernel development. They might as well use it.
I know. It's like they will actually start using Linux kernel as a part. So VSL 2 will work really, really better. But I don't think they will actually do Windows. They will replace Windows kernel with Linux kernel just because of the fact that it's so different, and that everything they have, stuff like Win32 applications, UWP, everything relies on Windows kernel itself. And that's actually one of the main reasons why those stuff actually don't work really well on Linux. And that's actually why even with .NET 3 you cannot get, they won't have UI applications for .NET 3, which will come with .NET Core 3 on Windows. That's because parts of it are still too interconnected with Windows and kernel and all that.
Hey, Big Pod. Here's the biggest question in the chat. Horatio is asking, has Microsoft updated the blue screen of death?
Yeah, I haven't seen it for a while.
A lot nicer to look at.
It's prettier, yeah.
Yeah, but it's that light blue, and you have like a little sad smiley.
Oh, it's the frowny face. I've seen pictures of that. Yeah,
it's like really sad. Yeah, but otherwise,
I can't.
No, there is no difference.
I cannot get any information off of that screen that's useful.
Yeah,
it doesn't give you an error message.
Old one, you get an error message. That's it. You get the error number and error code in a word that says maybe bad memory, but that is useful.
Thing is, if I got the stop code, I could look up that stop code and find out exactly what's going wrong with
you get 0x something. That's a stop code, but the problem is that most of the time it's wrong.
I've never had a problem fixing a blue screen of death.
Yeah.
When I had that stop code, I've always had a problem trying to troubleshoot Mac OS and OS 10 because it doesn't tell you what's wrong. It just says, "Oh, there's something wrong."
Yeah. Basically, what I like to always say is that I rather like to see Windows 10 or Windows blue screen of that than Linux's kernel panic.
Kernel panic's the worst.
When you get kernel panic, you rather just reinstall because you're gonna have so much problems. When you see a blue screen, reboot. It might actually work still.
It might actually work. Guys, I'll have to let you go. It was a pleasure to be on for the first time.
All right.
Thanks, Derek, for the
appreciate you
for the invite, and
yes, sir.
I'll see you guys soon. Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you, Bruno.
Right.
Bye. Bye.
And it's time to go anyway. It's approaching noon here, so let's get a last word from everybody else too. Big Pod, send us out with something. Something smart. Something intelligent.
Something smart. Next.
It can be about Microsoft. So.
I'm gonna say something smart. No, someone else.
All right. Murray, you got anything for us on the way out?
Yeah, I got one.
Yep.
November 2017, all the world's fastest 500 supercomputers run Linux-based operating systems, except 2 universities, and Microsoft paid them to use their operating system.
Yeah, but it's a corporation. I mean, that's what Microsoft just has to pay people to use their stuff. It's like South Korea is moving to Linux, right? Well, are they? I mean, eventually somebody from Microsoft's going to contact the South Korean government and be like, "Hey, man, we'll give you Windows for free if you just use it."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But that's how they usually do this, and it might work, it might not. Sometimes they convince people to stay, though.
Well, thanks and enjoyed it.
All right, appreciate you. Sam, you still there? Give us a last word, sir.
Yeah, you bet. Love your channel. Thanks for letting me be a part of this live stream. It's been good.
Yeah, well, thanks for hanging out with us. I appreciate you. All right, Ben Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Pause the Gentoo install for just a second and give us a last word.
I haven't even started yet. Well, I am hopefully I am hopefully going to get that started today, and I'm having over 100 people at 5:30 for a concert party for my uncle. So you see, he's a concert trained piano player, so
Wow.
I'd have to stop during that and go downstairs and hang out with everybody because there's going to be over 100 people to greet. So that might take a while.
That sounds cool.
All right, so
All right, Ben.
Gonna be a crazy as heck Sunday for me.
Well, I'm rooting for you on that Gen 2 install.
Yeah, and this time I might do open box with it.
Solid choice, yeah.
Yeah, I might borrow your configs for that and play around with them and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, man.
All right, Chris, give us the last word, sir.
Well, let's see here. Something starts with Z, zebra. No, anyway, the Linux on the desktop still has a long way to go before it's going to be widespread acceptance to the point where people will, the big names in software are going to be making anything for it. Linux as part of the server is always going to be part of the backbone. It will always be there. But with Windows moving, or with Microsoft moving Windows more towards integrating with the Linux kernel, I see good things happening. It does bother me a little bit about the privacy issues, but I mean, we can keep an eye on that and see what's going on. So, other than that, thanks, Derek, for having this. I was glad I was able to get connected, at least for a small part of it.
Glad to see you, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, Chris. And to translate what Chris just said, what he meant to say is, Linux guys, we won. That's what he said.
Hey. Well,
all right.
That's every Linux user's dream. Of course.
Let me get my last word in. Of course, I want to thank everybody that joined me here on the video call. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Everybody hanging out in the YouTube chat. Thanks for hanging out on a Sunday morning. I know a lot of you guys probably had better things you could have done. And of course, I need to thank these people here, all the patrons over on Patreon. Again, without these guys, none of this would be possible. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace there.
All right, this was fun.